614 Startups Nation, welcome to another episode of the 614 Startups Podcast. My name is Elio Harmon, your host, and I know I say this with every podcast, but we have a superstar on the show today, all right? We started in the basement of 3360 East Livingston Avenue, and we have come a long way. We have a Fortune 500 company CTO on the show today. I'd like to welcome you all and introduce you to Ray Bajaj, CTO of Cardinal Health. Ray, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Elio. I'm glad to be on your show.
All right, great. Well, it's great to have you. When I was introduced to Heather on your team, she was very gracious. And she invited me out ahead of you actually appearing on the show. And I got a chance to visit Fuse, the innovation arm of Cardinal Health, which we're going to get into. But before we dig into that, people have to get to know you. So why don't we start with a bit of your personal background and how you came to be the CTO of Cardinal Health?
Yeah, so Elio, a little bit about my background. I spent 20 years in financial services and banking industry. And, I'm a transplant from Dallas, Texas, moved to Columbus in the middle of pandemic. And, from a professional background standpoint, I led full-scale digital transformations for the biggest of banks. I built digital businesses in fintech industry, innovated in the areas of how people manage money, how we reimagine car buying experience, how we reimagine the home buying experience, and what is a future of banking. So those were the interesting problems that I was involved in. And I joined Cardinal Health 2 years back because I was so motivated and excited about how we can change healthcare. And I was inspired by that mission, how to improve patients' lives across the globe. And you know that, Elio, that technology is revolutionizing healthcare. And we in Cardinal Health and Fuse, we want to harness the energy of that change.
Yeah, well, I get it, right? I'm a former banker turned healthcare guy too, right? It's a great place to get experience, but sometimes banks get a bad rap because people usually transition in search of fulfillment, but we're not going to throw the banks under the bus. How did you start your career in tech? And then what do you think were the keys to kind of rising to greater levels of responsibility in your former role and then kind of in your role now with Cardinal Health?
Yeah, so let me give you how I started my career. I will divide my career into three phases. The first phase of my career, I started as a software engineer. I was building software, I was having fun, and this was way back during .com boom and bust. But that is the time I got myself into what is the craft of technology. So in my phase two of my career, I started with my leadership journey, how to make sure that building high performing teams, how to build technology strategy that can transform organizations, how to grow businesses. So that was my second phase of my career. The third phase of my career was around digital transformations, where how to innovate in Fortune 100 companies, how to build new talent, how to operate differently, how to make sure that we are building new business models. And I did that very successfully in the financial services space. And I also don't want to put bank under the bus because they serve a tremendous purpose. And so we were very successful doing that. Now the big challenge for me is how to bring that knowledge of financial services transformation and transform an industry that means a lot to you and me.
Yeah, and so there's a big difference kind of as you're talking about different phases in your career. There are going to be a lot of startup folks here starting companies watching this. You might have a CTO kind of building an early stage company. But what are some of the skills, right, that someone needs to have as they scale their company? And as you went through each phase, what were some of the things that kind of what got you here won't take you there? What are some of the leadership lessons that you had to go through to continue to move forward in your career?
Yeah, no, I have always said that you need to have perseverance, you need to have resiliency, you need to have grit, because it is not easy to build new businesses. You have to go through literally fire, and there will be times where you're going to say that this does not make sense at all. Why am I doing this thing in the first place? Those are the days that builds you the future of your character as well as the passion that you are pursuing. The second thing, I'm going to say that have deep focus, because generally we get enamored by so many ideas. We fall in love with our own ideas, but we always have to remember that we are solving a customer problem, and identifying the right problem to solve is a big thing. The second thing I'm going to do that the skills that are required to bring an idea to a concept to maybe an early stage product is different than skills required to scale the product in the market. So always think about that, who's your scaling team, how you're going to scale, and how you're going to capture your first customer, your 100th customer, or your millionth customer. So you need to have a strategy for scaling, and then you need to have a strategy for an idea to product and concept.
Now, is that the same person? I mean, what percentage of the population you feel can really take that journey with the company, right? I guess that's kind of the question I'm asking. From the grit and perseverance that it takes to go from just something in your mind to something in reality, and then scaling over time. Do you think that is something that is innate, is something that can be learned, and that's part of the perseverance in this journey? What are your thoughts about that? Because there might be somebody right now in this situation. They've gotten their company here and they're starting to doubt themselves.
Yeah, so I consider when we are pursuing a problem to solve, I look from customer need first. So as I talked about, then I look for business viability, because the customer need has to transform into a business case, and there needs to be somebody who needs to pay for that service or a product. And then there is a tech component to it. There needs to be technology feasibility. So customer viability, business feasibility, and from a technology standpoint, can you build that thing? So those three angles have to come together. And the skills required are a little bit different on the early stage idea, where you are looking at, is this the right problem to solve? Can we make money? Do we have the right technology that is ready? So we have leveraged design thinking as a discipline where we can hone in on the right problems to solve. And once we go through the design thinking, we build low fidelity prototypes. We put that in front of the customer. And then we know that, no, this is not the right idea. We need to pivot. So you require focus, but you require adaptability and pivoting as well. Then you get the customer insights. And once you hone in on the right product, then you need to have a team that can scale. You need marketing, you need sales, you need right pricing. How can you get the customer adoption? Because that is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, and and I'm kind of going through that phase myself, which is why I'm always fascinated with this question. And I know as we get into Fuse in the model, those are some of the questions that probably some of the companies you eventually work with have to, those are decisions that the founders and the CTOs have to make, right? As we scale this thing, are you going to be the person that takes it from idea all the way to scale? But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, that's exactly what we're going to talk about: innovation at Cardinal Health. All right, this conversation is being brought to you by our friends over at Rev1. Rev1's mission is to help entrepreneurs build great companies. As you navigate the waters of business entrepreneurship, you don't have to go it alone. A strategic partnership with Rev1 connects innovators to the talent, customers, space, and funding you need when you need it. Get started with Rev1's Startup Studio by visiting www.rev1ventures.com to learn more. Again, that's rev1ventures.com. And support also comes from our friends at Nationwide. Nationwide's mission is to protect people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. To help fulfill that mission, Nationwide is looking to invest its $350 million venture capital investment fund in insurtechs that will help them create new and exciting products and solutions to meet the needs of their customers. If you're interested in partnering with Nationwide's venture capital team, visit nationwideventures.com to learn more. Nationwide is on your side. All right, Ray, we talked about your background. You gave us some tips for people in the suck, right? If you're building the company, you need to be focused, you need to persevere because it's not going to be easy and you're going to go through the fire. But let's talk about now your role at Cardinal Health and Cardinal Health's approach to innovation and the reason for Fuse as an innovation arm at that company.
Yeah. So, Elio, if you look at the Cardinal Health, if I can introduce Cardinal Health to the listeners of this podcast, it's a Fortune 20 company. We are in the business of pharmaceutical distribution. We manufacture medical products, lab products. We distribute them, as well as we create data and performance solutions for healthcare system. And just to give you the scale of the company, 90% of US hospitals, we serve the hospital systems. We serve 29,000 pharmacies. We serve around 19,000 specialty practices and clinics. Also, we serve 6,000 labs, 3.4 million patients. We provide home healthcare products with an assortment of 46,000 home products that are available. And why I talked about those numbers is the scale and the connectivity. We have a tremendous scale inside the healthcare industry. And we as an organization is transforming ourselves from a distributor to a technology-enabled healthcare digital solutions provider. And that's where Fuse plays a huge role, where our CEO often talks about how can we innovate as well as move to the adjacent areas of healthcare. And Fuse is the startup within that Fortune 20 company that is helping us transform, unlock new revenue pools, create new business models for pharmacy, for biopharma companies, for providing digital supply chain, as well as innovate in the area of how care delivery is delivered right now. So there are different problem spaces in digital healthcare that Fuse is the innovation engine, as well as a product development center inside Cardinal Health.
Okay. Well, I mean, you hear it all the time, right? You either innovate or you're going to disappear, right? Yeah. So all companies understand that. But is it an intellectual understanding, or how do you get it from your head to your heart, right? How does the idea of innovation go from just a head thing to a heart thing, where the key people within the organization are involved in the innovation arm? It's not just this thing off, by itself, not being tended to by key decision makers. One of the things I enjoyed about coming over to Fuse is that as the CTO, you are at Fuse. How do companies get it from just a head thing to a heart thing for it to become core to who they are?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, Elio. And I will answer the question by acknowledging that it is hard to innovate in big companies, big corporations. It is hard. And the reason is the productivity paradox. where your business model is optimized for your current problems, and you are really good at it. And what we are trying to say in innovation is, how can you climb a different mountain? How can you unlock new value and capture it very fast? And how can you rise an organization 40,000 people one day and completely move in a different direction? It is not easy thing to do. And we in Cardinal Health, we are building a culture that is innovation ready. So how can we sense, how can we analyze and respond to non-linear shifts in the market really fast? Giving you an example, in the middle of pandemic, one of our pharmacy customer said, no, we have vaccines, but I need a solution to schedule vaccinations, to do the vaccine tracking and management. We said, okay, we heard your need, and within a month, we created a solution inside Fuse, my scheduling, that we provided to our pharmacy customer, so that they can do vaccine scheduling, they can manage customer wait list, even they can provide the status of vaccinations to CDC. Till date, we have administered more than 1 million vaccinations through that platform. And a metric that I measure is the no-show rate. So we have less than 2% no-show rate on that platform. So how can the organization get insights to actions fast? And how can we galvanize the organization so that there is no time for wait cycles? We need to cut through the wait cycles and get to an idea to the market, and we need to pivot very, very fast.
All right, so let's take your example of vaccine scheduling, right? So it's a problem that's probably always existed, but it became really acute during the pandemic, right? So, all companies, all hands on deck, not just from a commercialization standpoint, but just, hey, this is all, citizens on deck. We have to solve this problem. We need big business. We need small business. Everybody has to be on hand. So it sounds like the first source of kind of an impetus for innovation comes from your customers. It sounds like Cardinal Health became Cardinal Health because you solved one problem and then customers brought you more. So what is the process, right, by which you encourage customers to bring you problems? And I'm taking notes because as a company, I want my listeners to bring me the issues that they want me to address. So what's the process at Cardinal Health for bubbling those issues and bringing them to your attention so you can solve them?
Yeah, and if you look at that ideation funnel, it has to be very, very broad. The ideas can come from an employee of the organization, can come from a startup founder, can come from the customer. So how can we have different signals coming in, and how can we have a process that can make decisions on those ideas, because all ideas may not be worth pursuing. So what are the focus areas that the company has decided that these are our growth areas? Let's make sure the ideas are coming and we have a process to make a decision on those ideas fast, a process to allocate resources so that we can build a product around that idea, making sure that we have the right alignment, because in big corporations, alignment becomes a huge challenge. So how can you get an idea, make decision, get the alignment, focus, and then execute better, faster, cheaper than your competitor, and get that idea in front of the customer, because your customer will give you the feedback that this is the right idea to pursue or not.
All right, now, and I like that you brought up focus areas, because I was going to challenge you on that point. Maybe this is why innovation is so hard in big companies. It's that mix of focus and innovation, right? So you have core focus areas at any company. Do you mind sharing what those focus areas are at Cardinal Health? And then we can kind of delve into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I can give high level focus areas where if you look at pharmacy. Pharmacy becomes an important channel for healthcare delivery. So what we are trying to do is how can a pharmacist can perform at the top of their license. So just not dispensing medication, but be a part of healthcare delivery by providing vaccinations, providing point of care, making sure that medication reviews are done by a pharmacist. So that becomes a huge area for innovation for us. The second area of innovation for us is if you look at the entire healthcare system, it is transforming from fee for service to value-based care. And let me decode value-based care in simple terms. It is the clinical outcomes meeting the financial measures. So if you can get the right clinical outcomes at a lower cost point, that is how the reimbursement is going to be done in the future. So we are providing digital tools to our specialty provider practices. These are oncology practice. We launched a product called as Navista that can help cost of care tracking, and not only cost of care tracking, but provide interventions to reduce the cost and improve patient outcomes, making sure that people, our physician practices, they have clinical trials management tool. We are providing solution for health risk management, which is identifying people at risk, looking at their trajectory, providing the right interventions so that we can make sure that we can get the right outcomes for the patients. Medication non-adherence, Elio, is a big problem in the industry. It's a $500 billion problem. 297,000 patient lives are impacted annually by medication non-adherence. We are building tools like patient engagement platform, where we are sending 400 million texts. So these are nudges so that patients are on their medications. And we have done 1.9 million interventions per year so that we are keeping patient on their medication regimen. So that is a big area for us to innovate. Last area I'm going to talk about is the consumerization of healthcare is real. There is a shift that is happening in the market, which is patients want more information. They want healthcare to be delivered how they want the healthcare to be delivered in the setting that they want it to be delivered. So how can we provide that easy button, the convenience, the one-stop shop, so that the healthcare product and services are there for our patients at their home. An example I'm going to give you is we did a joint venture with a startup called as Medically Home. They are bringing hospital to patients' homes. And we are building technology solutions so that whatever the services are in the hospital, it could be unlocked in patient's bedroom. Mm-hmm. That is how the care delivery is shifting. And we want to be there to provide these kind of solutions for our patients and our customers.
Yeah, and on my side of the world, the home health and hospice side, we know that patients are returning home at higher acuity. So it's not just an issue of maybe using that technology as a preventative measure, which is important, right? If you don't need to go to the hospital, why go? You can receive these high acuity services in your home. But even if you do go to the hospital, you're going to return home at a higher acuity. So you need those services to keep you home and not get readmitted. So I definitely understand that problem, and I see it every day. So you have these focus areas. So let's say the idea bubbles to the top. It's in one of the focus areas. One of the things that you talked about is how do you resource those ideas, right? So if you're going to make a commitment to solve a problem for one of your customers, you have to decide how you're going to allocate your resources at Fuse. So let's talk a little bit about what life is like working at Fuse if you're getting these ideas from everywhere. And then how do you decide whether or not this is an internal Fuse innovation that can be built with your current capabilities versus looking for an outside partner like you did with this hospital at home startup?
Yeah, so a little bit more about Fuse. It is around 350 people. And the way I frame Fuse is it's not a technology company in healthcare. It is a healthcare company enabled by technology. So it's a different framing. And I have clinical experts. These are doctors, these are nurses, these are PharmDs. They provide the clinical backbone inside Fuse. And then we have hired technology entrepreneurs who have started their companies, software engineers, data scientists, product managers, human-centered design. So it's a healthcare meeting technology, and that is how the Fuse culture looks like. You will see doctors in the lab coats. You will see nurses in their lab coats inside Fuse. And then you are seeing the technologists working with doctors and nurses and PharmDs to solve those problems. The one thing that I'm going to talk about the culture, it is yes, the clinical experts and the technology, but we are integrated with the businesses. So the beauty out here is cross-functional teams coming together on the right focus areas, so that either we can build, buy, or partner. So there is no way we will build ourselves for innovation and growth. There is no way we can buy for growth as well. So there needs to be partnership, and that's the reason I'm doing this podcast, where I need the minds in Columbus, the minds outside of Columbus, to come join hands and solve those critical gaps in healthcare. Because I need those brilliant entrepreneurs, people have ideas on there are 115 million chronic care conditions or chronic care patients inside US. There is lack of coordinated care. If you look at how much we are spending on healthcare and what are the outcomes that we are getting, if we have brilliant problem solvers in those space, I want to make sure that they can work with Fuse and we can co-create new products and new business models so that we can completely change the game inside healthcare.
And what skills? I mean, you talk about founders who've started their own companies, exited, have been successful. What are some of the skills you think someone needs to really thrive at working at Fuse? Because one of the things that you talked about is, and when we had a chance to sit down, is that not everybody necessarily wants to go out and start their own company. I mean, at the outset, we already talked about how brutal it can be. But there are people who have skills and they want to be in an environment where they can be working on an early stage on solving a problem, right? Or working on a smaller team where innovation and speed really matters, where it's exciting, it's fun, it's everything with that you would love to have in a startup, but you don't necessarily have to take the risk, right, of being out completely on your own. What are some of those skills that are absolutely crucial to excelling at Fuse?
Yeah. So first of all, I will say that somebody who is passionate about healthcare, passionate about the use of technology, passionate about be strategically bold in taking big problems and building these cross-functional teams is a very, very important skill set. I talked about somebody who can focus and somebody who has grit and resilience, because this process of innovation is not for everybody. You have to go through a lot of change curve inside your how you are executing on the ideas that you want to pursue. So somebody who can pivot fast, somebody who can listen to customers, somebody who can zero in on the right problems to solve, somebody who is creative, as well as somebody who can use the quant skills to the mix. I always talk about left brain thinker and the right brain thinker coming together to solve the problems. And what we give inside Fuse is, if you look at our CEO, our chief strategy officer, our chief innovation officer, chief information officer, there is a strong support from the executive team from Cardinal Health. And we have created a venture fund an internal venture fund. If you have an idea, pitch it to this venture fund. The venture fund, is going to make quick decision whether it is aligned to our right to win. We will ask certain questions. Then you go to the next stage. You will get a team. You will get the right system around you. You will get an innovation guide that can help you with the alignment, that can help you with product strategy. There is going to be a scaling team that can help you scale your idea. There will be people who you can tap into for customer acquisition, for branding, for getting your message across. So there is an innovation architecture that we have built around the Fuse organization, starting from the CEO and the EC team, that is all in to take the idea and take new products and business models to the market.
All right, so I want to talk about that idea and then a team that wraps around that idea to help you bring that idea to market. But I wanted to back up a little bit because I want to go back to the example of the technology around vaccine scheduling. So the idea bubbles up. You guys have a process for making sure that that idea fits into the focus area. Of course, red lights were blinking. We were in a national emergency. So solving issues like that were going to take precedent. Then you're going to look at your ability to resource that within the Fuse team and hiring and making sure that you have these people are both creative and analytical to really deliver that. Let's talk about the process of actually building the product. Because I think one of the issues also with innovation within a large company, you could tell me if I'm wrong or not, is that folks are used to you delivering to them products that work, right? That have been debugged, right? Especially in an environment where you're dealing with pharmacy or dosages or, where it really matters that this thing works perfectly. Let's talk about that product build cycle and then delivering it to a customer when it may not be perfect. And how do you guys deal with that, right? Especially being an innovation leader.
Yeah, so first of all, we aspire to build our products with utmost high quality and fidelity, and but it's an iterative journey for us, and we start with low fidelity prototypes, and we bring our customers early on, and we talk to the customers around. Here is what the idea looks like. Here are the mock-ups. Here is the clickable prototypes look like. Talk to us about where you like and what is the high point and the low point in your journey. So we do that early feedback, and we take that feedback in many points in the product development life cycle. Iteratively, we keep on improving the fidelity of the product, making sure that it is working code, making sure that it has minimum viable features. We call it as a minimum lovable product inside Cardinal Health. And then we continue to build features around that product until we get to a point that this is the product that we can scale. I always believe in we cannot have an inferior product in the market and scale it. That is not the right thing to do because we will poison the well. But at a particular point, we make a decision that this is the right product, right quality. We are in a regulated business, and all the dots and the I's are dotted and crossed. Then we make a decision of scaling. But having said that, we work really fast. So the agility needs to be there, the decision making needs to be there, and the empowerment needs to be there to the teams, because you cannot centralize a lot of things. You need to have the right people, have the right guardrails, and empower the teams to innovate very, very fast.
That's great. And I like, speed really matters, especially in the environment that we were in, and having that capability already built into your innovation team, I think is amazing. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about that venture fund and how that works, right? So if I am interested, I'm in one of these core areas, or I just have an idea, right, about how to transform healthcare, maybe looking at something like medication adherence, such a big problem that you raised, and I have an idea. How do we get that idea over to Cardinal and what that might look like in terms of an engagement and possible funding? All right, this conversation is being brought to you by our friends at Vaunt. All right, guys, let's all be honest with ourselves. How many times have you needed to get an oil change, clean your car, get a tire rotation, and you put it off for weeks on end? We're all guilty of it. Maybe you're coding over at Fuse, you just can't get to the garage, all right? My friends over at Vaunt set out to make delayed car care a thing of the past and created the most convenient and affordable way to care for your car. All you have to do is, 1, book your service and desired pickup time. 2, drop off your keys with a certified Vaunt driver who picks up your car for you. And then your car will be serviced and delivered back to you within 3 hours. That could be a detail and an oil change or other service. From now on, the only thing you have to worry about is where you're going and who you're going with. Look, guys, I'm telling you, this is the future. Try out Vaunt, VOHNT.com, and use the code 614 startups to get 20%. No, that's increased. 25% off your first service. All right. Now, this conversation is also being brought to you by our friends at Color Coded Labs. It's time for a better career in tech. Introducing Color Coded Labs, a 16-week boot camp that does more than teach basic code. It's a program designed to help you actually get a career in tech. At Color Coded Labs, we've removed all the barriers to help you learn the skills you need to start a career you love in weeks, not years. All designed for people of color by people of color. Apply now at colorcodedlabs.com. I know they're in the middle of cohort 1. Get signed up for cohort 2. I heard cohort 1 is going pretty well. All right, Ray, let's talk about, I have the key, the problem, the solution to medication adherence. I'm right here in Columbus, Ohio. I'm built, I have a small team. We're already coding on the product. And I listen to this podcast, and I want to talk to Cardinal Health. I want to talk to Fuse about it. How does that process work?
Yeah, so it is very simple. Reach out to me or any leaders inside Fuse. Reach out to our general manager of outcomes business, who is solving that medication adherence problem, improving the outcomes for the patients, outcomes for the pharmacists, pharmacies, outcomes for the biopharma companies, outcomes for the payers. So we are all here ready to do the business with the best of the minds inside the healthcare industry. And if you have a problem, reach out to Fusers, to reach out to our business leaders, and you will see that we will co-create, we will invest, we will make sure that the jamming of the ideas can happen. And the whole idea around there is idea and everybody needs to be in the 4 walls of Cardinal Health. We believe in an open innovation business model, which means that we are ready to collaborate with startups, we are ready to do joint ventures. And we need to make sure that the right minds are in the problem space so that we can solve the big problems inside the healthcare.
Okay, so is there a website? I mean, how do we get
Yes.
a hold of you? So where do we go? How do I submit my pitch? How do I get a call scheduled with you? How does that process work?
So just search Fuse by Cardinal Health. You will see a link to the Fuse page. You will see the leaders inside Fuse. You will see, if you have an idea, then you can reach out to us, and trust me, we're going to be back to you very, very fast, because we believe in speed and agility. We don't have any time to waste.
Yeah, so what's the minimum viable, lovable pitch, right? What do you expect somebody to come to the table with if they're going to reach out to you to really get a serious conversation going?
Yeah, so as I talked about, there is an unmet need in the market, and I talked about the problem areas that we are focusing on. there is an unmet need, there is a business case behind it, and there is a good technology solution that can bring that idea to the market. So we are not looking for 12-page business plans, or we will get to that stage. But if you have an idea, customer unmet needs, high level business case, and a good low fidelity technology solution, we are here to work together.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, that's easy enough. Ray and the team at Fuse are making it easy enough, and most importantly, not that intimidating, right? Sometimes you might have an idea, you don't feel like it's ready for prime time. You don't want to approach an investor or a potential partner like Cardinal Health. Ray is dispelling that. If you have an idea, go to the website, submit that idea, get your basic deck ready to go, because they're going to reach out to you pretty quickly after you do that. Now, if somebody else has heard this and said, hey, I have some experience, this is an environment that I would love to work in, is it the same website? How do people engage with Fuse? Because I know you guys are making a big push for talent as well.
Yes. So, you can reach out to the leaders on LinkedIn. You can search for the Fuse leaders and reach out to myself, my leadership team, the HR team inside Cardinal Health. And if you like a fast-paced environment, if you like a startup environment inside a Fortune 20 company, if you are galvanized by the mission and the purpose of solving the big problems in healthcare, and this is the place to be. And I want to invite everybody who wants to solve big problems, who want to make sure that technology can create patient-centric experiences inside healthcare, and we can make sure that the healthcare is going to be delivered for the patient at a lower cost point, and we will improve the patient outcomes. So I would love for the innovators to come and join us.
Yeah, and I came to Fuse after hours, right? So most folks were either leaving or already gone, but I could still feel the energy in the place. Like what you're describing is beyond just working in a place where folks are going to be challenged. It's also a cultural thing, and I could feel that from my interactions with Heather and the rest of the team. I know you guys have something brewing over there. So if you are you're looking for opportunities, even if you're not actively looking, still check it out and see maybe there's an opportunity at Fuse for you. All right, we're going to take one last break, and then we're going to talk about corporate participation in local ecosystems, right? Why that matters, why Cardinal Health is looking to do that, and what might some of those impacts be. All right, last break here. This conversation is being brought to you by our friends over at Hairdrop. Hey, another startup supporting the show. I love it. Never visit the beauty supply store again. Order your beauty supplies from the Hairdrop app and have them delivered in an hour or less. I think I coined this phrase on the last partners meeting, that a hair emergency doesn't have to turn into a hair disaster, all right? Hairdrop is like DoorDash for beauty products. Get your hair care, grooming tools, hair extensions, and more when you need them to ensure you look and feel your best at all times. Available for download from both the Apple and Google Play stores. Get a beauty supply store in your pocket by visiting hairdrop.app and have your beauty delivered today. All right, and then finally, from our friends over at Book & Street. Book & Street provides finance and accounting solutions for startups in the Midwest and beyond. From strategic financial support to bookkeeping and everything in between, they've got your back office covered. Let their experienced team of finance and accounting professionals help your startup get it right from the start. Learn more at bookandstreet.com and set up your free, I said it, free 30-minute consultation with their team today. All right, Ray, let's talk about participation in the local ecosystem, why that matters to you, why that matters to Fuse, and what difference do you think it can make?
Yeah, so Elio, we believe in that healthy communities build strong businesses. And we in Fuse and Cardinal Health, you will see the leaders are very, very active in the community, because we want to give to the community and make sure that there are strong businesses, and that is creating healthy families, and those are the thriving communities that we want to invest, and we have a role to play. Being a Fortune 20 company in Columbus, we want to make sure that we are considered as a company that are building healthy communities in the local Columbus area. And we are investing in local businesses. We are investing in real estate. We are investing in startup community out here. We are investing in new venture funds around this area. And we want to make sure that the Columbus area becomes the hotbed of healthcare innovation, where we are attracting the talent from outside. And this become the place for healthcare innovation inside the Midwest. So that is what our goal is, and our leadership team, from our EC team, our OC team, we are committed to this cause.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the reasons why I came up is not just to see the building, but to also hear this vision moving forward, right? And how can we work together as a community with Cardinal Health and with Fuse to really transform Columbus? I think we feel the rumblings of what's happening. And we know that a change is coming, and it's going to be huge. Columbus is kind of growing up in its own right as a startup ecosystem. And it's great. It was great to hear your vision and your team's vision for how we can all work together to make Columbus the best it can be. Now, I won't let anything out of the bag because there's a lot we're still talking about. So I look forward to working with you and the team at Fuse. I'll let you have the last word, and then we're going to go ahead and wrap.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to just say the final note on this one, which is, I came to healthcare from a wealth care industry. As I started my conversation, I was looking for a mission and a purpose. I was looking for how can we improve the lives of patients all across. We are seeing a population that is aging. We are seeing a healthcare system that can do better. We are seeing a lot of problems, technology, digital, data, AI can solve. Healthcare technology and building the best healthcare system is just not a job for us. It is a calling. And my request to the innovators in Columbus area is, come join us and make a difference in an industry that is so important to us.
Well, Ray, I appreciate that. It's inspiring. I see it every day in the work that I do because I work around a lot of seniors. And at the end of every technology innovation that Cardinal Health produces, creates, and deploys, there's a person on the other end of that. And I think in my conversations with you, there's a common thread that runs through everything that you do, which is, hey, we need to transform healthcare for the people receiving healthcare. All right, Ray, fascinating conversation. I'm sure this is not the last time you and I will be getting together to chat. I want to keep conversations like this going. All right, folks, that's a wrap. You can find this and all our episodes on our website, 614startups.com. It's brand new, version 2.0. You should go see it if you haven't checked it out in a while. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and all your favorite podcasting platforms. Don't forget to subscribe and write a review. You know the algorithms love subscriptions and reviews and likes. If you would like updates sent to your inbox, our growing newsletter, you can check that out on a weekly basis by going to our website and getting signed up. To engage with the community, you can follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 614 Startups on all platforms to join the conversation. For sponsorship opportunities and collaborations, you heard from a few partners on this episode. Email us at info@614startups.com. Until next time, peace.